What's going on? It's your boy Efren Tinoco, and I have to come at you today, February the 21st, with a new proposition, and that is some of the consequences of Mexico no longer being a client state of the United States. Well, Mexico has a lot of things inside of it that United States um, powers that be, U.S. economic, industrial, and financial elites are very interested in. Mexico is a very rich country. It makes itself or others a lot of money. Like I said in the prior video, it's very blessed, like the United States, very blessed per acre. Um, it was the Mexico City, unlike all other, uh, well, the Spanish Empire, unlike all other empires, um, the metropolitan capital, like Paris or London or Lisbon, was was the richest city, or the Roman Empire was the richest city. Um, in the Spanish empires, example, Mexico City was the richest city in the Spanish Empire. So anyway, that bounty is attractive today. It's the reason why Mexico has been invaded by numerous great and not so great powers over the course of its history. So, not so much lately, and probably, yeah, it wouldn't be prudent, like Bush 41 said. Bush the father, the greater, not the lesser. Um, what I'm getting at is that there are some consequences to Mexico no longer being a client state of the United States or anyone's client state. Um, well, there have been a number of smears against Mexico in order to justify, in order to substantiate diplomatic pressure to resolve the losses to American economic elites, given that Mexico is no longer a client state of the United States. The biggest smears against Mexico revolve around its manufactured contentious points. One of them, and some of them are actually real contentious points, but the top manufactured contentious point is drugs. Don't get it twisted. The United States is not trying to solve a problem. The United States government, as it is not constituted, but the Constitution is fine. But the balance of powers, its structure is fine. The people that staff the leadership roles, given that they were sponsored, put in place by today's rapacious, insatiable economic elites, and I'm saying calling out the billionaires for this, nothing is ever enough. The least patriotic, the most demented people in our country. And I'm saying this because, like any psychologist would, you look at the behavior. Don't talk about. Don't consider what you say. Don't consider what you write. Don't consider what other people say about you. Just look at the behavior, and that will show the thought pattern. Right? Okay. I'll leave it at that. That's another discussion. But no. Your representatives, your chief executive, your governor likely, Um, Many of the um, generals that have governing roles, like leaders of certain of the central leaders of the Southern Command, don't have your best interests at heart. Some people in the Supreme Court and other members of the judiciary do not have your best interests at heart. We do not have a government that actually operates for the purpose it was founded for, the general welfare. And I will say this. Okay, you would think that if we have a problem with drugs, the nature of the problem is addiction. I remember these commercials when I was young, a boy, a student, that this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs, cracking an egg into a hot, greasy pan, right? Some of you guys remember that. Dating yourselves. Don't be ashamed to date yourselves, okay? You also might remember Nancy Reagan saying, just don't do drugs. Getting on TV say, don't do drugs. And if you don't remember this, then you have been brought up in the United States without any single nationwide coherent campaign to stop addiction in the United States. Addiction, maybe if we look at the actions of the United States, they want us addicted. They want us addicted, and they want us to pay high prices for this, either to not vote or to be in jail, maybe a private one. Basically to be non-functional for whatever reason, to whatever degree. Consider the story behind how crack cocaine came to the United States. Consider how consider the development of opioids and the approval for their use for non-agonic pain of either birthing pain or end-of-life pain. You break a bone and they give you opioids. You have a headache, they give you opioids. Then all of a sudden, they got you. And now you're taking fentanyl. But is there a fentanyl detox center somewhere? Is there any outreach number you can take for getting it, on fentanyl? No. But the cartels are actually crossing the border, right? Because we see so many cartel members live on TV, right? And we see so many cartels being filmed coming, going and distributing drugs, right? And we see so many cartels opening people's mouths and force feeding them these drugs, right? No. Okay. No. That's not how it goes. The cartels do not operate in the United States. The cartels are not a threat to the United States. The United States is a threat to the United States. Okay, I'll say it again. The cartels are not a threat to Americans. The cartels are not a threat to Americans. The cartels do not substantially operate in the United States. Now, people who partner with these U.S. citizens, U.S. residents, actually transact with the cartels and bring this stuff over to the communities. That is what case by case has been reported on the news. We don't arrest cartel members in the United States because they don't end up in the United States. Okay, so Mexico is responsible for solving the cartel problem, right? Mexico is responsible for controlling the cartels. Okay, well, what did they do? AMLO went against his campaign promise. Abrazos y no balazos. Hugs, not drugs, basically, or hugs, not bullets. And actually authorized the armed forces, replace the federal police with the National Guard, authorize all of those Army, Navy, Air Force, National Guard to go to take care of domestic security in Mexico. Oh my gosh, no, that's not, you're not supposed to solve that problem. No, 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 no. Don't militarize the country. Behavior tells you what's really going on, right? Okay. Oh, don't go to Mexico. Don't go to Mexico because there's too much money going to Mexico. Well, there's really too much tourist dollars going to Mexico, strengthening the peso. If I'm not mistaken, 2023, now that they're counting the numbers, about 70 million people visited Mexico in 2023. The number one immigration destination for U.S. citizens is Mexico. They are approaching at 2 million Americans living in Mexico now because it's so dangerous. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Mexico is trying to fill the U.S. residents with drugs. No, no, no. Mexico's not doing anything against it. Mexico is controlled by the cartels. All of it. All that category of argument is lies. Mexico should be doing more to solve the immigration problem. Immigration is the other category of lies. Entire category. You can't just call it one lie. First of all, we know that the immigration problem does not result from Mexico. Okay? Mexicans have net migration between Mexico and the United States is positive towards Mexico. The proof is the increasing amount of U.S. citizens going to Mexico. Mexicans currently going back to Mexico. Part of it is the same thing, the economic ills that we're suffering in the United States. Okay, so immigration is not to be solved by Mexico. We don't know that immigration is caused in the United States at these numbers is caused by the U.S. breaking these countries. Venezuelans, okay, we might have an issue with how Venezuelans behave this round of Venezuelans behave when they come to the United States and end up in New York, Boston, New York, whatever. Okay, that's an issue, I guess, all right? But the government is not trying to stop these people from coming here. No, 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 no. The government is using this as an excuse, as a distraction for its policies of blockading and starving the Venezuelan people in order to get them to overthrow the current government or enabling our mercenaries, like they've tried and failed to do recently, to overthrow the government so that the U.S. can invest more heavily in the Venezuelan oil industry. The highest reserves of oil are in Venezuela, in the world, higher than Saudi Arabia. This behavior seems to resemble a child that has to have something it sees within its range of sight, maybe just out of its reach. I want that, I want that, I want that. Venezuelan oil must be mine. This talk about critical metals, critical minerals, these U.S. must have access. No, 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 no. U.S. must have control. Mexico's a friendly country to the U.S., neutral and deferential, friendly on balance to the U.S. because of how important the relationship is. By simple geography, the U.S. can access Mexican lithium. The U.S. can access Mexican cobalt. Access is not the word. Control is the goal. Control is the goal, which is why they are trying to upend the electoral process. Why our government is trying to upend the electoral process and or make a coup or something, invade, take by force, right? Because these drugs that are flowing to the United States are posing such a security problem to the United States, to the American people. Obviously, the behavior shows they're not concerned about that. Okay. Shall I go on? Shall I go on? All of a sudden, the United States is concerned about the Maya train and the effect on the environment. No, 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 no. The United States is less concerned about the environment. Look at the degree to which we're doing fracking. Look at the degree to which we are actually poisoning the earth in order to plant varieties of genetically modified crops that can only grow on soil that is poisoned in a certain way. And they're trying to export that to Mexico, right? Not concerned about the environment, but all of a sudden, when Mexico builds its modern passenger rail between tourist points of interest, tourist points of interest on the Yucatan Peninsula, that's going to drive even more tourism and drive even more visitors and drive even more dollars to be expended in Mexico and traded for pesos to pay for accommodations and meals and drinks and trips on the train and entry tickets and such. So people to discover more and more about how Mexico is safe. Okay. Right. When Vulcan Materials was the one who bring this protest because they were called up by the president of violating the cease and desist order. They're basically a aggregate stone mining company, a quarry company. Well, guess what? Vulcan Materials continued to mine and destroy the underwater waterways, underground waterways that give us the cenotes and caves that are so beautiful and famous of the Yucatan Peninsula. Fracking the stone and gravel out of the ground, even, and poisoning the waterways a spitting distance from Tulum. They're so concerned about the environment because of this train. No, no, our government is not concerned about the environment. Our government is concerned about Mexico becoming better at what it does and providing for its people. Because then the fear that Zbigniew Brzezinski had, we don't want Japan on our southern border. We don't want a Japan on our southern border. Mexico's out there. Oh my gosh, Mexico's this. The Mexican is petroleum company is about to go bankrupt. Making money hand over fist. Opening new refineries, new recoking installations, exporting natural gas to Eastern Europe in place of Russia. U.S. can't get it there fast enough in the quantities. I'm going ahead. But anyway. Oh, and the cartels are controlling Mexico. Oh, and the judiciary is being attacked and its democracy is being threatened in Mexico. Don't get me started. Don't get me started, okay? What you hear about Mexico is a bunch of smears. A bunch of smears. Ladies and gentlemen, do you understand me? Do you understand me? And now it's being used as campaign fodder in especially the Republican Party. All this talk about invading. What a bunch of idiots. Because of this, we're almost driving Mexico straight into the arms of the Chinese and the Russians. So the price of aggression has been elevated now at a time when the US government has overplayed its hand with the sanctions on Russia specifically. Agree or disagree with what is going on between the fighting entities in Eastern Europe? The United States has overplayed its hand, okay? And many countries disagree with the postures the United States taking in Eastern Europe and Israel, most notably right now. And so they're abandoning the dollar in order to liberate themselves from the threat or diminish the threat of the sanctions that the U.S. can impose by controlling the dollar. And all this does is further compress the gap between Mexico and the United States as economic and political players on the world stage. So Zbigniew Brzezinski's fear has come to pass in big ways, and this is what you get from the lack of statesmanship, from the lack of balance, but single issue goals serving only your funders and not the people. Our foreign policy should also serve the people of the United States and not just the most connected that have the worst motives, that are so out of line with the actual welfare of the United States. I've gone on very long, but this is all geared to establishing the smears against Mexico and some of the consequences and non-consequences of the smears of our press and our body politic against Mexico. And why is this so important to me? Because I, like millions and millions of U.S. citizens, have our feet not by birth, not necessarily by choice, but some of us even by choice in both countries because of necessarily it was always this way. The U.S. took half of Mexico's territory and it was going to be this way anyway. So here you have, and we have the NAFTA, it was going to have be this, that brought more of us over. So, can't escape reality, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how hard you try. So, speaking of reality, this is a friend Tinoco telling you what you need to know and not what you want to hear. Hasta luego.